Yo, what's going on, guys? Your boy Fnatic, and I'm back with another video. So today we are going to be doing an LSU schedule preview. LSU are a very, very interesting team. Some people think that they can go 11-1. Some people think that they'll go 8-4. They made a New Year's Six Bowl last year. They went 9-3 last year. They lost. Wait, no, they won the New Year's Six Bowl. It's my bad. And they ended up 10-3. I think they're going to be about the same this year, around the 9-3 mark. I haven't looked at their schedule by the time I'm saying this right now, but from just my knowledge of the team, I think they're about a 9-3 team. Once I take a deep dive into the schedule, I might find out that their schedule is really hard and they'll be undefeated. 6-6. Maybe their schedule is really easy and they'll go undefeated. I highly doubt that, but let's go ahead and without further ado, let's get into the video. So LSU starts off just like how most teams start off, in kind of a cupcake game against Georgia Southern. I think LSU is going to handle them. They're going to get off to a nice start to the season. They're just way better than Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern has no chance to beat LSU. LSU wins 45-7 to kick off the year the right way with a big win. Well, not even a big win, just a win that you would expect them to do. So a cupcake game to start off the year, and LSU predictably gets the win. So LSU. Where am I getting Tennessee from? So LSU in week 2 goes on the road to face Texas in one of the most exciting, important, and intriguing games of the 2019 college football season. I am so hyped for this game. This game will either prove that LSU and the SEC are still dominant, or Texas is back. I am a big believer in Texas. I'm kind of leaning towards a Texas victory. Not going to lie, I think Texas might be able to pull it out here against LSU. Nevertheless, I think it's going to be very, very close. Physical game that'll go down to the end. One of the best games of the entire season. But in the end, I think Texas pulls out the 31-24 victory to prove once and for all that they are back. And they defeat LSU here in week 2. And LSU suffers their first loss of the season. And it's a devastating one. So up next, LSU has arguably the biggest challenge of their season against the elite NW State. I had never heard of this college before. I looked at LSU's schedule. LSU beats them 48-3, and we all assume a very, very lucky victory. They're lucky to escape out of here with a win. But there are concerns of them losing 60-0 and all their players being injured by the muscle men of NW State. Come on. Can't we schedule a better game for them? I get they're coming off of a Texas game, but NFL, you don't face teams that are equivalent to a slice of ham. So, it's pathetic, but LSU wins 48-3. What would you expect? So, coming up next, LSU finally opens up in SEC play against the Vanderbilt Commodores on the road. I think LSU is going to beat this team. I think it's going to be a physical, kind of defensive game for the first half, then LSU would just kind of separate in the second half. LSU is just a much more talented team than Vanderbilt. It's pretty simple. LSU gets the easy win, well, not really easy, but the convincing win to kick off their SEC conference play as they advance to 3-1 for their regular schedule and 1-0 in conference play. I say they beat Vanderbilt 31-10 here in week 4. So another non-conference game for LSU against Utah State. I think Utah State puts up a bigger fight than Georgia Southern or Dora the Explorer's Gamer Squad, that other team that they faced. I think that LSU is going to beat Utah State 28-0 in a defensive physical battle. I think Utah State will come in there hyped up and will make it somewhat of a game, a watchable game, not an entertaining game by any means. But LSU gets the win over Utah State in kind of a hard-fought victory as Utah State nearly caught LSU slacking. So LSU still wins 28-0. So in a very, very challenging game for LSU as they head back home. Wait, no, they're home for... What am I talking about? I was confused by the Florida Gator image and the swamp on the screen. I'm rambling. But they face the Gators at home, and I'm going to give them the 34-16 win here. I think Florida will be distracted by Georgia coming up on the schedule, and LSU will get the worst of Florida, and they will take advantage of it. and exposing Florida, winning 34-16, and a big confidence boost for them as they get vengeance for Florida's win over them last year. So a big win here for LSU in week 5 or 6. So LSU heads back on the road to face another SEC West foe in Mississippi State Bulldogs. I think LSU will keep this kind of just boring, uninspired Mississippi State offense at bay. I think LSU is clearly the better team out of these two. These teams are both defensive teams, but I think LSU actually has a formidable offense to lead their team in this game. Mississippi State not so much. So I'm going to give LSU the 24-10 victory here over Mississippi State. I think LSU proves to everyone that they have the better defense, offense, and just overall team in general. So LSU gets another big win, this time against Mississippi State. So LSU is kind of in a tough spot here, coming off 2 big wins against Florida and Mississippi State. But then again, Alabama comes up on the schedule, so they might overlook Auburn. But never fear, LSU fans. I think LSU will respond well to this adversity. They know how big this rivalry is, so I think they're going to win 26-24 in a very, very close, defensive, hard-fought victory against a very, very game Auburn team. Both these teams, I think, will want it. LSU knows how important this game is. They know how important the rivalry is. And LSU knows if they want to have a shot to win the SEC West, the Bama game won't even matter if they lose to Auburn. So I think they beat Auburn, making the Alabama game all the much bigger. So up next is LSU's biggest game of the year against the Alabama Crimson Tide in the battle for the SEC West. Will they rise to the occasion and upset the Crimson Tide? No, they will not. They will crumble much like they did last year and lose in blowout fashion against Alabama 30-3. Alabama's the better team. They have the better coach, the better defense, the better offense, the better quarterback, the better running back, the better offensive line, the better defensive line, the better linebackers, the better cornerbacks, the better safeties, the better stadiums, the better facilities, the better fans. They have better of everything. And that's why I think Alabama is going to beat LSU here 30-3 convincingly, much like they did last year. I believe they beat LSU 29-0 last year, and that was with LSU at home. So I think it'll be another beatdown victory here for Alabama over LSU. So LSU, after a devastating loss to Alabama, stays on the road to face the Ole Miss Rebels. I think that LSU is going to respond well to that loss to Alabama. They know how important rebounding from that rough loss is, and I think that they are going to beat Ole Miss 42-17, bring hope back to that organization and to their fans. I think this is a big win for them, even though you expect them to win here. The fact that they respond so well from a rough loss to Alabama just shows how resilient this LSU fan base and team is. So LSU, after 2 road games, heads back home to face Arkansas. LSU is going to beat Arkansas. Everybody knows that. Even Arkansas fans, even Arkansas players, even Arkansas staff knows that. LSU's just better than Arkansas. It's kind of like the Bama LSU situation. LSU's that with Arkansas. They're just better at everything than Arkansas. Better staff, better fans, you get the gist. They're just better. So that's why I think they're going to win in convincing fashion, 44-6. LSU responds again well after the loss to Alabama, beating 2 very below average to bad SEC West opponents. So a great response to that loss to Alabama, beating 2 teams in convincing fashion, going in with a lot of momentum, gaining all of that momentum back, going into another big game, Texas A&M. In the last game of the year for LSU, also in rivalry week, they face obviously their biggest rival, Texas A&M. They had a great game last year against Texas A&M in that huge overtime game, one of the most exciting games. I'm glad that I really got to watch it. I actually saw the play where Kellen Mond threw the interception, switched the channel, switched it back to see the after show, and then saw that the game was still going on. That was a wild game. That was a wild ride. And I think it'll be another great game this year. Not quite as good as it was last year, but then again, you can't ask for much more than a 7 overtime largest scoring game in NCAA history is. It's just, you're not getting any better than that. That's just the peak. But let's get back on topic here against Texas A&M. I think that LSU is going to want revenge for last year's embarrassing loss to Texas A&M, but I think Texas A&M is going to rise to the occasion, come into Baton Rouge and beat LSU 31-27 to prove that they are the second best or maybe even best SEC West teams, that they are superior, especially in the coaching category. I think these teams are very, very similar on talent. I think Texas A&M's coach Jimbo Fisher is just better than LSU's coach Ed Orgeron by a comfortable margin. That's why I believe that Texas A&M will pull off this huge win in Baton Rouge to end off the year, as LSU heads to 9-3. So LSU ends off the year in kind of disappointing fashion, going 9-3. You may be asking, why am I not a big believer in LSU? Why do I only think they'll go 9-3? It comes down to one thing. Ed Orgeron's the problem there in Baton Rouge. They need a better coach. If they can get a better coach, they're kind of in the Texas A&M spot. There's no excuse for them to not be good. They're just not good, and they're good but not great. That's the better term. It's just because of their coach, and you see Texas A&M now. They got Jimbo Fisher. They got the coach right. I think Texas A&M will have a lot of success in the future, and if LSU can get their coach situation figured out, that they will be brought tons of success in the future, and they can start actually competing with Alabama. So it's just all about the coach. You get your coach figured out, you get your team figured out, you get the wins figured out. But LSU's still good. They might go to a New Year's Six, might not. They end off 9-3. A basic LSU season. Can't win the big one, but they win the games that they're supposed to. They lose the games that they're supposed to. A basic, boring LSU season. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Keep an eye out for maybe another schedule preview coming later today. Maybe. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.